Hey everybody, my name is Joe Couture. I'm here from Holistic Couture, and I'm talking today with a good friend of mine, Jared Moore. He is a nurse practitioner, family nurse practitioner, and he was a nutritionist for 10 years. When it comes to anybody that I look to for information to pull little tidbits or to help clients, this has been the guy I've turned to for a little while now. So I wanted to bring him in today so we can ask some questions and get to the bottom of some of these dietary issues. Jared, thanks for coming in today, man.
Happy to be here, my friend.
Awesome. Jared has worked for, actually, you know what, I'm going to let you, because I know you started as a firefighter.
Yeah.
Then you came up to nurse and now nurse practitioner, but you were a nutritionist in there too.
Yeah. So I'll tell you about myself. So yeah, first career was, let me talk about myself just to kind of how I got into nutrition as well. So I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. And so a lot of things involving my life were involved around food. So basically everything we did was eat, fried this, fried that. And so I gained a lot of weight. So I think I was around 175 pounds when I was like in fifth grade. So I was like the big fat kid in school to, say the F word. And it just impacted my life a lot. So as I got older, I got really, into looking at nutrition. And then at one point in my high school career, I looked at my mom. I was like, I'm just tired of being this way. Like, I want to be different. And so I actually did Atkins at the time. So now it's kind of more into the keto thing. But yeah, I lost about 50 pounds in my first month, and I was like, oh, I can do this. And so that's what kind of like started my journey in there. So I went to college. I originally went to college for political science. So I was actually going to be a politician.
I can see that though.
And yeah, so I really, I like meeting people.
What was your biggest?
So 299.
299.
Yeah, 299. And I actually, so I got the 299, what was I, 18 years old?
Okay.
And then I got down to 187 in high school, and then I started weightlifting, got back up to around 270, and started drinking too, so that was another thing.
And we'll talk about that, what alcohol does.
Yeah, for sure. And so then after that, basically, I was like, hey, I'm going to stop this now when I got out of college. And then out of college, I decided I didn't want to do political science anymore. So I went into the fire department.
Okay.
And so that's where I got kind of involved. And then I realized after I was treating some patients that a lot of the frequent flyers, as we call them, people that are constantly going in, it was what they were eating. It was what they were doing outside.
Yeah.
And so I actually left the fire department because I wanted to be more proactive rather than reactive. And so I went to nursing school. And then right after I got out of nursing school, I was like, hey, I want to help more people. So I kept going into the nurse practitioner. Throughout that time, though, I started basically a nutrition business. That's how I actually paid through college.
Nice.
I was doing programs for people, and also started an Amazon store doing fitness accessories, things of that nature, just anything involving health and wellness.
Now, a nutritionist, a lot of people would think of that as a diet expert in a sense. So like, what limitations did you hit that made you think, I got to keep going up more or I can't help?
Well, it was so a lot of times you can get, for nutritionists, you can get a certification or get a licensure. And so basically I ended up getting a certification just because it was faster and more prompt. And I just kind of took it upon myself to continue to learn as fast as I could. A lot of the licensure, I had met several like licensed nutritionists, and it was so cookie cutter in how they learned. Like, it was basically very old school food pyramid, things of that nature. I'm also in the fire department. I ran into them when we're dealing with end-stage renal disease and a lot of other problems that are related to nutrition, stuff like that. And they were almost causing more complications than they were helping people. And so I was like, hey, I'm just going to stick with what I have and just continue on this route. And ultimately, my goal was to, again, become a practitioner, be able to prescribe medications. And so now I could help people in a full spectrum.
Well, now that you've reached the limits of where you're aiming for, do you find that there's something that, oh man, I'm still, what would you say is your primary limitation in helping people now? Like,
just awareness, to be honest. Yeah, just like there's so much information out there that people get really lost. And I think, we'll talk about some of that as we move forward. But, a lot of these old school mentalities of like waking up and doing these fruit smoothies in the morning and layering with, I need my healthy fats, and, avocado toast is healthy. And people lose sight of healthy and fit. And
weight loss.
Yeah, weight loss. Yeah, and so they get very lost in that. So a lot of people, there's a lot of very obese people that are very healthy.
They eat wonderfully.
They're very healthy, but they don't like the way they look. And so you got to understand that there's a difference there, and you sometimes have to sacrifice a little bit in order to hit certain goals, as far as, not eating a lot of these healthier fats and things like that, and maybe doing some supplementation. But ultimately, if your goal is to kind of be healthy and fit, you got to kind of push more towards a low calorie than adding in these extra fats and things like that would be considered healthy. Right?
Let's get into that, though. What would you say are some simple tips right off the hand that you would recommend to anybody who's trying to lose weight? Just a basic approach, maybe 5-step guide, something like that.
Yeah. So hydration is key. So that's going to be number one. Water intake is key. AHA standard says at least a gallon of water a day. A lot of people, that becomes very difficult.
That's difficult.
I actually sold and promoted a water bottle. That was one of my first products, because I knew that was the issue. Like, I had problems drinking water. And so most people have like a shaker cup or something like that, and then you drink it, and then when you get a chance to refill it again. So you're driving through your car, you're working out, everybody's moving and grooving. And so I ended up getting a half-gallon water bottle. So I always suggest, that's just something I suggest from, get a larger water bottle. Yeah. Get something that you only have to fill up 2, maybe 3 times. And then now you're going to get your water in more. And more water allows for more filtration, allows the body just to utilize their nutrients better. And then ultimately it leads to weight loss.
I get told by a lot of clients that, I'm just not thirsty. Like, I don't have any. And a lot of times salt tends to be something.
Yeah.
So just get them to a little bit extra.
And that's what I think we've talked about that before. And the body's, made of 75% water, but people forget it's salt water. So if you're not replenishing the salts and you're just replenishing the water, you're actually dehydrating yourself, because you're diluting the system. So, most people have tried to drink a gallon of water plus, and then next thing you know, you're just peeing all day long. It's like, oh, I can't drink that much because I'm just going to the bathroom. Well, a lot of that is because, again, you've messed the pH balance or the nutrient balance of the sodium and water. And so adding in salts is going to help you with that. Particularly, now, most people, when I say that, they're like, oh, what about bloating and high blood pressure and things of that nature? There's particularly 2 types of salts. One is Himalayan pink sea salt, which most people know and have seen, but they don't realize why it's so special.
Yeah, that's why I take it.
Yeah, great. And then there's another one, Celtic salt, becoming very, very popular. Yeah, so that one's really good as well. And basically, these types of salts are natural and more bioidentical to what your body naturally has in it. And so when you supplement these salts, since the body is aware of what it is, it's able to push it in and out as it needs. And, as a medical provider, I see this in kidney health constantly. People, when they add in these salts, their EGFRs or their filtration rates for their kidneys constantly go up. And so this is really important. When I was a firefighter, the area that I lived in was Hampton Roads, Virginia. And we had the largest population of end-stage renal disease patients in the entire country.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't really attest to why, but we had a very large African-American community. And so that's very common with African-Americans to have issues with renal disease. And so that's something that I really push in the clinic I work at now is talking about these salts to everyone, but especially those people who are more prone to it.
So what would you say, what if somebody is on a regimen of like an iodized salt, not a sea salt, not that has something that has 60 to 80 minerals in it, not like those combinations, but like, is there a danger to a typical table salt versus Himalayan sea salt? Yeah,
so a lot of the times with iodized salt, people are like, okay, iodine, an elevation of iodine helps with the thyroid, it helps with weight loss, things like that. But in Western civilization, we don't have an iodine problem because most of the things are coated in salt solutions, and that's iodized salt that's traditionally used. If you overdo those types of salts, they can, again, dehydrate you and end up making you swell and bloat as well. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So I've been a little bit more so hydration, that would be one of the big ones that, like, one of the big things to tackle with working with a client or patient, anything like that. Well, what is something else that's just an easy tip?
Yeah. So one thing that I like to talk about too is pH balance. So basically everyone understands or have heard probably in old chemistry like homeostasis. Our body always wants homeostasis, everything to be neutral. And so when you go to sleep at night, your body becomes very alkalized. So pH balance goes up. People,
which is what we want.
Yeah.
We want an alkaline system.
Correct. And so that's why, like, usually the first glass of water or first bottle of water that I suggest is an alkalized water. because you're going to get hydrated faster. However, all the other types of water, you want something like a spring water because it's got more nutrients in it and things of that nature. So if anyone's out there choosing waters, don't always go with the most expensive one because most of the time those alkalized waters are just purified. And go more towards a spring water, simple spring water. But again, the first, if you're one of those people that likes their alkalized water, the first one in the morning, I think is a great idea. But what I was getting into is that pH balance. If you hit the body with a hydrolyzed or acid in the morning, so a lot of people do apple cider vinegar for this, but you can also do lemon juice. A good squirt of lemon juice or cut up some fresh lemon in a glass of water as the first thing you drink in the day will now hit that pH and actually will wake you up. So a lot of these people who are living off coffee, I'm like, hey, move the coffee aside for a minute, try adding in this lemon water, drink that for 8 ounces, wait for about 20 minutes and see if you're not already feeling woken up.
Yeah, I do that every morning.
Yeah, it's great. It's such a simple thing. So, even just like adding in, lemon water throughout the day is also not a bad idea.
And apple cider vinegar is wonderful for several.
100%. I mean, some people don't like it because the burning of the throat or the taste.
Taste is what gets me off.
Yeah, so sometimes I do kind of a mixture, or I do like ginger or something like that to kind of like offset the taste. But yeah,
I've heard it's good for the liver.
100%. Yeah. Yep. So it's got a significant amount of things that it's good for, just body detox and things of that nature. So they even have gummies and things that are out now that they're promoting. I don't ever say necessarily go for the gummies because again, a lot of them have a lot of artificial sugars and things of that nature.
Plus, it's hard for us to break down.
Correct.
Correct. Like they're fibers for a reason, so it's hard.
Yeah, but adding the apple cider vinegar, I think, is really, really good. But again, if you can't stomach the taste, lemon juice it'll definitely help you wake up. So
yeah,
that's
I agree 100%. What role do you think when somebody's tackling it, when they're hitting that 40-year-old mark, they're trying to get into that new phase of life, and the first thing they're doing, they're getting to the gym, they're starting to roll. But what would you suggest? Would nutrition be a better starting point for the right off the table beginner, or is getting to the gym and just getting started with exercise a better approach?
Well, I mean, it's like a full spectrum approach, so it's hard to say, it's like the chicken before the egg, right? And so, yeah, nutrition's gonna be 80% of what is going to change you. And they say the gym is 20%, but being active is very, very important. Even if you can't get in the gym, I would suggest counting your steps. So you see a lot of people with step counters and things of that nature. They got a lot of cheaper ones on Amazon. Shooting for something like 10,000 to 15,000 steps a day will really promote weight loss, will really promote things like that. But getting in the gym, getting around people who are more involved, I think is really important.
I need it for my own motivation. I need it, absolutely.
Just the energy of it.
Yep.
The energy of it. That's why I don't like a dead gym. I like a gym when I walk in, there's people there.
Yeah.
You can socialize, you can make friends. And a lot of people are kind of threatened by that. But to be honest, everybody's in there trying to do the same thing. It's just, some people are a little shyer than others. So most of the time I always suggest just walk in, try to talk to somebody. More than likely, they're gonna be happy to talk to you.
When we talk about diet, is there a structure that you would say, you know me, I have not preached against it, but I don't eat a lot of carbohydrates in my diet other than the very polycarbs. I like my potatoes, my rices, things like that. But is there something that people should just be staying away from? This is a no-no. Let's just automatically, we can cross that off the list as this is just not worth even,
Yeah. So obviously we want to watch out for a lot of sugars. Particularly if you're trying to lose weight, just sugars inside things like Emergency or liquid IVs. Try to avoid those things. Yeah, a lot of people do liquid IV now. They even made a sugar-free version now.
15 grams of sugar.
Yeah, it's quite a bit, right? Yeah. But I would say processed foods. Really honestly, processed foods are just so bad for you. And, we'll go into gut health and things of that nature. But these foods that have already been processed and made in a lab or broken down already, the body doesn't understand what's in them. And basically it starts reacting. And a lot of times it reacts to inflammation. You can see breakouts, you can see all kinds of bloating, weight gain, mental changes. We'll talk a lot about that later, but yeah.
Well, when we talk about inflammation from food, what does that mean? The inflammation is a specific term or kind of a general term in the body?
So in the body, you can get inflammation pretty much anywhere, right? So, some people, they will feel pressure when it rains in their knees and feel that inflammation there.
That's true, though.
Yeah. And so they feel that pressure, or you bump your arm on something and you feel that pain and that inflammation there. But when it comes to gut health, most of the time it responds in bloating, but also just slowing things down. Now you're creating pressure, which again is slowing down the digestion. It's preventing nutrient absorption. Because when the gut is inflamed, your body will always try to protect itself. And so if it's got something going on, that's its main focus. So a lot of times when if you're shooting for weight loss, shooting for muscle gain, you're shooting for things like that, the biggest thing is focusing on digestion, focusing on removing inflammation from the body to allow the body to now go through whatever process it needs to get you to your goals.
We've all heard the term gut biome or gut health. Does that play a role in this? Is it what we're eating that's causing inflammation, or is it a lack of something that's breaking it down? Where does the problem typically lie? Okay,
so a lot of times it's going to be a little bit of both, but mostly we are what we eat. We've probably heard that before, right? And so if you're eating a lot of these processed foods, or you're eating an inconsistent diet of just a plethora of things, your body starts responding in various ways. I always tell people, even when it comes to dieting, this is kind of a side point, the body's kind of like a stubborn toddler. Like when you just start, you have it play with its toys, you say, hey, after we're done playing, we're going to pick up the toys. They're like, oh, forget that. Oh, blah, blah. But if you consistently do something with that toddler, hey, after we play with the toys, we're going to pick up. After we play with it, it'll finally get it, right? And when it gets it, now you're rocking and rolling. And I usually say when it comes to nutrition, about 6 to 8 weeks of consistency, your body goes, oh, I see what he's doing now. Let's go that direction.
Which is pretty quick, 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, considering it takes like 16 weeks to get your circadian rhythm set in, 6 to 8 isn't bad. Like, it's very doable for people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I know you went back, so let's go back to the inflammation. A lot of times it's what we eat, but also the microbiome is very important. So basically we tend to be, people have heard of good flora, bad flora. This affects everything in our body. It affects our immune system. It affects our digestion. It affects how, our organs function properly. It affects our sleep. All these things. You'll also notice, your bathroom habits can change. Also the bloating is obviously a big thing that we probably all deal with. These types of inflammations can be fixed by, helping the gut biome, adding in probiotics, adding in prebiotics. Those are the type of things that are going to allow your body to break things down and fight other germs and other things going into the body.
But let's just define that real quick. Prebiotic, something that feeds bacteria that's already present. Probiotic, something that puts bacteria there so it can feed off of stuff.
You got it.
Okay. And so when we're eating our foods and we're dividing them up, is everything going to fall into one of those two categories, or is it very specific things that are prebiotics and very specific things that are probiotics?
So typically it's very specific things. Everything that we eat is going to change our gut biome a little bit. However, there are specific things, particularly probiotics, people have heard a lot of. There's one right out now that is called Seed that I just started testing out. But the goal is it introduces new gut bacteria into the body to allow the body to adapt and change and basically start curing itself, similar to your immune system. So similar to like if you were to get sick, or we'll say the flu, for example, once you get it, now your body goes, all right, that's what it is. Now it becomes more immune to it, right? Or again, like COVID, for example, once people got COVID the first time, sometimes their body became immune to it. Now it's like, hey, I've already got it before, so I'm probably not going to get it again. The body responds that way, and that's why it releases these, or gets these gut bacteria so it can become more aware of what's going on in the body, and then again, help the body if it needs an immune system response or digestion response, things like that.
And good probiotics, we might say, is like yogurt, right? Kefir, anything that's fermented, any of the pickled products, and kimchi, things like that. Those are wonderful. Kombucha, I love kombucha. It's wonderful, good for those. But prebiotics, I know apple pectin, like in apple skins, things like that. Onions, garlic, bananas, good prebiotic. Any others that you'd want to throw in there just for people?
That's pretty much the one. They're usually the go-tos I go for that one. I'm always a fan of just,
What do they do?
you know, cucumbered things. Those are tends to be, you can almost cucumber anything at this point, asparagus, things like that.
Yeah.
And
I love just,
getting that is going to help you with various, prebiotics as well.
And what role do enzymes play? Like I know that the test that we both use in the company you own, we're going to talk about here in a minute. But one of the things that test for is your enzymes. Like why is that important specifically for weight loss?
Okay. So enzymes, when it comes to weight loss, these are things that activate the breaking down of the food that we eat. So for example, you have lipase, amylase, protease, most of them end in ACE. And these are things that aid digestion. So again, a lot of times when you are eating, a good quality, calorie dense diet, the body's not used to that. And so adding in additional digestive enzymes or checking to see if you have enough enzymes to break these things down is super important, because again, it's going to allow the body to absorb nutrients, break them down, gain them, and also eliminate them as needed.
And this is going to affect absorption, minerals, all kinds of things, because we're not breaking them down. Now, what leads to this? Like, why does our gut flora diminish? Why aren't we making correct enzymes? Like, the test is wonderful and it'll show us what we're missing, but why aren't we making these things? Is it our diet? Like, is it specifically our diet that's eliminating?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, like we mentioned earlier, we are what we eat. So again, if you're not eating calorically dense foods or a lot of these probiotic based foods, yogurts, adding them into your diet, you're not going to get these gut bacteria. In the body, they can only fight off things for so long. They can only activate things for so long. Once they've been overworked, your body will eliminate them. A lot of them will latch onto things that cause inflammation to get it out of your system. A lot of times when people take these probiotics or digestive enzymes, a lot of time they have more regular bowel movements, because now these gut bacteria are able to latch onto these things that are just sticking in your gut, causing things like leaky gut, breaking things down in the gut wall, that can cause all kinds of problems, including, again, the inflammation that we mentioned.
I've recently read into pectin, how it turns into, one of the bacteria eats it and turns into uric acid, and that protects the intestines from a leaky gut. It coats it, basically.
Yeah, well, something very interesting that they do in Middle Eastern cultures that we don't really talk about a lot here is they tend to not drink water with food.
I've read a lot about that recently too.
Yeah,
so be doing that.
Yeah, I always suggest.
I have to. I mean, I don't have to, but like I always tell myself I have to. That I feel like
Most people like they, or they have a glass of wine or something, with food. But when you're digesting food, you have a stomach acid that is a certain pH, and when we add in water-based products or other types of products, it changes the pH in the gut, and ultimately will slowly wear down the gut as it's being activated. Because basically, when the food comes in, brain tells the body basically, hey, increase this amount of acid or increase the gastric acid content. And then because of that pH change, because of the amount change, if we're diluting it, it basically keeps pumping it in, now breaking down the gut wall. And that's why things, again, leaky gut is very, very prominent amongst communities.
And that I'm sure a lot of reflux problems are going to come with that.
Oh,
Just keep diluting the acid, it turns
100%.
Diluting the acid.
And that's also why when we lay down, when some people eat and they lay down and they get this GERD.
Yeah.
And, and I'm
that's a common one, eating real late at night. That's a common one.
100%. And so, a lot of people forget about gravity when it comes to things. If they're like, your legs are swelling, you're like, oh, my legs are swollen. Well, try laying and elevating your feet. You'd be surprised. You might have to go to the bathroom because it's trying to eliminate that water. Yeah. But a lot of gravity does a lot of things there. So.
And with like somebody had edema in the leg, some sort of swelling issues like that, is that something that exercise is going to even play a role in, or is that more of a medical issue? That's not something that we would say like check with a professional on that one, right?
Yeah. So whenever someone's writing a nutrition program or advising on supplementation, I always seek your medical provider for authorization. I always recommend talking to a PCP or talking to a professional about it because it does change. Depending on your cardiac history, for example. So usually leg swelling can be a lot of things. It can be an issue with the thyroid. It can be an issue with, congestive heart failure, all kinds of things, absolutely. Right? Or it could just be simple, hey, you're eating too much of the wrong kinds of salts. Now we're swelling in the legs. Or, people that work out a lot, they go hit a really heavy leg day. And next thing you know, you've got these big ham hocks and you're just like, I feel like I'm swollen. And so, it can be a plethora of things. But, always, check with your medical provider or go seek somebody that's going to be able to tell you based on your history.
Because edema is something that, oddly enough, we see quite a bit.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
something that is always concerning. I mean, but there are, I've a lot of times it turns out they're hyponatremic. They have just low salt in the bloodstream, not drawing the water back out,
Well, here's another random tidbit, talking about hyponatremia. So the brain and the body are actually opposites. So basically when the body vasodilates, the brain vasoconstricts and vice versa. So 90% of headaches are actually related to hyponatremia. Basically, the brain starts basically swelling, and it presses up against the side of the walls of the skull and basically causes these tension headaches. So by adding in salt to your diet regimen, sometimes it can relieve a lot of these migraines and things like that.
Yeah, people forget that brain surgery is painless. There's no brain receiver in the brain. It's in the outer covering, the dura that covers around it. And so that either bows in or flexes out. So dehydrated, you get one headache. Too much pressure, you get the other headache.
You got it.
Yeah, I think people, they associate it with that brain, but they're not aware of the fact that it's really a cage around it. It's giving you that headache feeling.
Well, that's why a lot of those, the BC powders and stuff are like caffeine and aspirin, and they're basically just doing that, constricting the blood vessels so it can get out, you get all that swelling out.
Where's your stance on caffeine?
So it has its place. Obviously, you don't want to overdo it, but if you're, you need a little boost of energy, I don't hate it. So I am a fan of doing an espresso before my workouts. Usually, I believe caffeine kind of peaks at about an hour. So after you might get that rush, but basically you get about an hour's worth of energy off of about 200 milligrams of caffeine.
Okay, that's a good ratio. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, which makes sense. Come thinking about where the gym is, and it usually runs out about that time.
Yeah.
It's neat. It blocks adenosine in the brain, right? Does it?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't even notice that you're wearing yourself down.
No.
But it's wonderfully organic, so it shouldn't hurt us, like in a real sense, other than overdoing it.
Yes, correct. Everything in moderation.
Where do you stand on creatine?
So creatine, I honestly love creatine if it's taken correctly.
Yeah.
A lot of people just forget that it needs water and carbohydrates to move. So if you're having, a lot of people are like, oh, well, when I take creatine, I feel a little bit of bloating around my gut and things of that nature. I'm like, well, where's your hydration at? Or they get headaches, or they get tired. Or
they take it with protein. Right?
Correct. And so you need something with some carbohydrates around that creatine to help it move, as well as plenty of water. Because if creatine does not have water, it's going to take it from the organs. And basically, because it's the goal of creatine, the reason, and we'll get into this, I guess, a little bit, kind of a science lesson. So when your body is going through anaerobic cellular respiration, so working out. So we learned about like the Krebs cycle or in chemistry, maybe in high school. So you have aerobic and anaerobic cellular respiration with or without oxygen. So with oxygen, so outside of the workout spectrum, we make about 12 to 15 ATP. So ATP is muscle energy. Okay. You think about it just like your mitochondria produces it, the energy powerhouse that lets us digest food, go to the bathroom, just activates us. In anaerobic cellular respiration, which is weight training, things like that, we produce about 2 ATP. And then that ATP is made from creatine phosphate and pyruvic acid. And so the goal is to actually supersaturate or saturate the system with enough creatine that the body produces more of it because it gets used to that saturation and more pyruvic acid, ultimately creating more ATP. And so a lot of people are like, oh, this makes me super big, super strong. Well, actually, it also helps with recovery. It also helps with a lot of other things because it's producing more ATP, and ATP does everything. That's what energizes everything. Makes you stronger. Makes the recovery time better. Makes the muscles swell up more. It's a beautiful thing.
I remember when it first came out, like when we were younger, and it first came out, it was like either a miracle or it was demonized. There was no in between on that one. You're either gonna die from it, from an amino acid, or it'll help. It's like the new steroids and stuff when it first came out. And so that's one of those things that I'll still hear people today. Oh, you take that? Yes, I take it every day. It's absolutely wonderful. It's great for your energy systems. Helps to bring water into the cells. Helps you just stay hydrated. Like I can't speak enough about it.
Yeah.
And have you found a form that you find to be the most absorptive of energy?
I honestly I like Korea Pure. So it's a German form of a creatine monohydrate.
Monohydrate.
Yeah. So monohydrate is definitely the best. But if you look for Creapure, it's more micronized. But yeah, creatine, just a little tidbit, history lesson. It was made in 1912 by two Harvard law students, or basically Harvard, scientists. And they wanted to test out Olympic athlete training. And so they basically, promoted this creatine, and they noticed a significant increase in performance.
That's great.
And so that's where it started, and it's been to the test of time now, right? And so it's like, if it's been around that long with no issues, I was like, I think we're all right.
Plus, it's essential amino acid. Like, it is something that we need for our bodies and we need in our diet. Red meat is loaded with it, so it's something that you get in your diet quite a bit already.
Yeah.
Any other supplements that for just like a bodybuilder who's maybe watching, or someone just getting into it, as far as for recovery, any amino acids on top of creatine you'd recommend throwing in?
Yeah. So I'm a big advocate of glutamine.
Yeah.
So basically the muscles are made of about 73% glutamine. And so supplementing in glutamine is definitely going to be beneficial to you if you're related to soreness, things of that nature. That's probably the biggest recovery one, I could say. As well, some other things, again, the digestive enzymes are also going to be great for recovery. When you're having your protein shake, you're having these other things. Add some enzymes in so your body can break it down. Most of the proteins already have these added in, but it's just something to be aware of.
Now, are carbs bad?
Well, it depends on who you ask. So, for someone who's doing a keto or a carnivore diet, absolutely they are. However, anyone eating a traditional American diet or a diet that is not strictly animal-based, then no, they're not bad for you. They're not. It's the issue with carbohydrates and weight gain is related to insulin. So basically, anytime we take in carbohydrates, our blood sugar raises. Our pancreas produces insulin in order to bring our blood sugar down. When insulin is present in the body, it's the number one anabolic hormone. So your bodybuilder's taking these steroids, or I'm taking growth hormone. There's nothing like insulin. Insulin is the number one anabolic hormone. The brain is activated. It says grow. You cannot lose weight while insulin is present in the body because you're signaling to grow. So basically all the cells open up. You got muscle cells, you got fat cells. Well, muscle cells, when they open up, can absorb protein and carbohydrates. Fat cells can only absorb fat. And so that's where the problem lies, is that when people take in carbohydrates with fat, it promotes fat gain. And so that's why people are so scared of carbohydrates. If you were to pull down the fats, particularly we do in my hormone clinic that I work at, is I talk a lot about a high protein, high carbohydrate, low fat diet, because we're already regulating the hormones. That's what a lot of fat has to do with, is regulating hormones, satiated regulating hormones, well, some heart health. But if we're concerned about heart health, let's talk about fish oil. We can add in other supplements that you don't have to add all these extra dietary fats.
So you would say a good omega-3 in there?
100%. And you want to find something, I would say with fish oils, flip the bottle over. So there's 1,325 medical journals on fish oil, probably more at this time. So it's one of the largest or most recorded research supplements on the market, period.
It's essential too.
Absolutely. And so because of that, it's everywhere. And the supplement industry does not really care about your health as much as you think they do. So like, for example, a lot of people get their fish oil from like Costco. Well, what you want in a fish oil, I always recommend a high EPA fish oil, so essential fatty acids. So when you take the bottle, you rotate it over, you look at the EPAs. I personally believe for weight loss, for heart health, for everything, you want at least 500 milligrams of EPAs, and you want to take that twice a day. If you're not doing that, then you're not really reaping the benefits that you get from the fish oil. And so like for that example, that Costco bottle, last time I checked, it was about 14 pills a day in order to get that. And so when you can get it from 1 or 2 pills a day in many other brands, you just got to look out for them.
And I'm sure would say this too. We always advocate eating your vitamins, but the food just doesn't have the vitamins in it. Farm-raised salmon isn't going to have the same amount of good oils that fresh caught salmon.
You just have to eat a lot in order to get that, right? So it's got the EPAs, but
so supplementation is not a bad thing. Like I don't want to say that and make it seem like just because we want people to be healthy that we would say you can't have a normal diet, and not even that matters sometimes. The food just doesn't have a lot of what it used to have in it for poor farming practices. And
well, let's talk about another thing that I recommend doing supplements on is vitamin D.
Yeah.
So we talk about vitamin D, absorbing it from the sun. Yeah, when you're out in the sun, your vitamin D is very high. But when you walk out of the sun or it gets dark, your vitamin D is very low. And so supplementing it is really the only way to get that optimized. So I constantly recommend, for children, it's 1 to 2,000 I use. For adults, it's 5 to 10,000 I use daily. Helps with serotonin increases, makes you feel good, helps with immunity. We even used it for, a treatment for COVID when that was going on. It's high doses of vitamin D.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. If we do 50,000 units a day for 4 or 5 days, it would kick it. And so that was really prominent. Also helps with hormone regulation.
I'm reading that, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. They tried to hide it for a long time because it was like such a simple thing. If Big Pharma can't make money from it, then they're not going to talk about it. But yeah, serotonin increases, just general, hormone balance issues, bone health. There's so many benefits to vitamin D, and it's such a cheap supplement to add in.
And it's like the only thing that your body makes vitamin-wise. Like, it's essential. Every single cell of your body has a receiver for it. So that supplementation for that seems, pretty obvious, because anybody, especially when we run the blood panels, everybody was vitamin D deficient. It's just how we live our lives these days. We're inside, we're protected from the world around us, so we're not getting those Vita rays like we need, from the sun and everything. And it's pretty, I think it's way more prolific than people think, the vitamin D deficiency is.
Yeah.
Would you say, with speaking about weight loss, when it comes to vitamin D's, is there any other vitamin that you would say, like, this is a vital, like this is a must-have because it's going to help you for whatever reason in weight loss?
I really like B vitamins, so Bravo. Getting a good B complex, like I always suggest like a B complex 100, so basically gives you 100 milligrams of all your B vitamins. Several B vitamins help absorb other B vitamins, particularly B12 helps with energy and weight loss. B3, B6 can help with cholesterol. There's a lot of benefits to these B vitamins, and they're water soluble. So basically it means when you go to the bathroom, a lot of times if you're peeing a dark color, you're peeing this neon color, those are your B vitamins going out of the water. And so adding
the first time that happened to me, I was like, oh, this is very strange.
So supplementing them in, at least twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, I think is a great idea for B vitamins. But all the other kind of micronutrients you can just get traditionally from like a general multivitamin. However, I always suggest taking it twice a day. When you see like men's 1-a-days or women's 1-a-days, they're giving you 100% of what is recommended as your daily ingredients or ingredients. And but your body can't absorb that much in one sitting. So we have to take it twice a day. It's just a marketing kind of gimmick for them. It's like, oh yeah, I'm giving it all to you at once. Well, I can't really take it all at once. So I would suggest that. So a lot of like sports multis and things like that, you'll notice they are taken 2 to even 3 times a day.
Okay. Wonderful. Yeah. The vitamins, when we started getting into Nuviva and having the ability to pick certain vitamins, some were just energy-wise, breathing-wise, B12, the methyl B12s we were on. That was my ability to breathe, my ability to do cardio, to burn energy was just through the roof. It was wonderful. So I know those B vitamins will really change your performance game in there quite a bit. So you had brought up hormone replacement. What you obviously work in a clinic for and everything, so you're pro hormone replacement. What is the benefits that someone could expect if they were coming in with, say, low testosterone or low estrogen, estradiol? What is the changes that they might expect that isn't like that?
So males and females can both be on hormone replacement therapy, right? Obviously, your testosterone levels are going to be different, doses are going to be different, but you can expect less brain fog. So a lot of people that are forgetting their keys places and aren't able to focus at work, that'll definitely increase. Also drive, so energy level, your want to go do things, assertiveness, basically confidence. So people who I've seen in clinics that come in, they're very shy, they're very reserved. And then once we get their hormones optimized, once we get their hormones optimized, they come in, they're, hey, very nice to see you. And they're very much more prone to be outgoing, to be able to relate to you and things of that nature. So there's so many benefits above just muscle building. That's, that everybody focuses on.
And when we say hormone replacement, the options go far beyond just injections or pellets or anything like that. Because I mean, you have things like enclomiphene. You have options that are oral that can cause the body to make more, and or if the body isn't capable, you can just outright replace. Do you see like a long-term downside to any of that?
Based on the literature, no. I mean, they're seeing, a lot of they're doing human studies now, and they're seeing a lot of people that, when they start testosterone therapy and they get their levels optimized, their muscle density lasts or higher than, someone who's not for the rest of their life. Having more muscle density is, going to help also with bone health, things like that. We have other products like nandrolone or DECA, as some people know it, that helps with bone mineral density, helps with collagen repair, things of that
joints,
nature.
Right?
Joints, 100%. And so there's just so much. There's so much more to hormone replacement. I always talk about, a lot of patients come in, with arthritis, and then we have medications like the nandrolone again that helps with arthritis. I had a gentleman in the clinic, actually, it was a small story, 67 years old, or in his early or his late 60s, was an old paratrooper. Basically had hurt his back, and also had some spinal stenosis around his C5. Basically, his ability to turn his head to the right, he could maybe turn about 20%.
Wow.
And so I talked to him about the nandrolone. I talked to him about hormone replacement. We did both. And basically, he came in about 3 weeks later, no appointment. He was like, "I need to talk to you." And I was like,
Oh boy.
You know what I mean? Right. And so I get done with the other patient I had, and he comes in and he's like, "I just want to tell you, check this out." And he's like, he like rotates his head like fully to the right. And he's like, "I have total mobility in my head now." And also like, he was like, "And my knees feel better. My elbows feel better." Like he's like, "I've been in so much pain for so long, and just to be able to move like this is incredible. And I wish I would have known about it earlier." So.
And what would be the steps if somebody wants to look into hormone replacement? What do you recommend that everybody does? Like, what are the steps? Male, female, ubiquitous. Like, these are the steps you're going to have to do if you want to even understand if you have it. Because
100%,
they might even be wrong about what they think the symptoms are.
Yeah. So a lot of times, people that we see at the clinic will come in with low energy, things like that. But the first thing you want to do is get your blood checked, get your hormones checked. Through the blood work, we're able to see where your levels are at, and also see if, hey, maybe you don't need hormone replacement therapy. We have some people come in that go, my testosterone's got to be low. It's got to be. And the next thing you know, we realize, hey, you're significantly dehydrated. We have some kidney issues here. Or, hey, we have some cholesterol issues here. And a lot of people that I see, a lot of people on these statin medications, they're prescribing statins like freaking candy at this point. Hey, you got high cholesterol? Let's throw it on a statin. Well, they're horrible for your liver long term.
And brain.
A lot of things. And people that get on statins, they get muscle breakdown. So rhabdomyolysis is very common, which is, again, a severe muscle breakdown. And it promotes toxins in the body. People feel worn out, lots of side effects. And so I'm not advocating that some people don't need that, but there's other alternatives for just general people with slight elevations and, bad cholesterol. One in particular is something called citrus bergamot. Citrus bergamot is an African orange peel, very natural. I always try to look for natural supplements before I start shoving medications down people's throats or anything like that. And so there's a lot of things out there, herbs and et cetera and so forth, that help with a variety of things that, we focus on in the clinic that may not be, that may resolve the issue that's not hormone related.
That's something and that's actually, when you had mentioned that at the clinic we were working at, I took note of it and wrote it down. That's actually like peer reviewed. People really looked into citrus bergamot. That is well proven to raise good cholesterols and lower bad cholesterols. Now, are there bad cholesterols? Does that exist? Like, is there such a thing as good cholesterols and bad cholesterols?
Yeah.
Why do we define them this
way? Yeah. So what you have your body have what's called HDL and LDL. So HDL is your good cholesterol. So these are things when you talk about eating healthier fats, avocados, almonds, walnuts, Brazil nuts, high polyphenol. Yes, exactly. High polyphenol olive oil. And just another Chad point about, going into, as we talked about previously, the benefits of nutrient foods. So like walnuts, for example, are great for your brain. So this is something kind of cool that a lot of foods, God was really thinking about this when he was, creating these things. Is walnuts look like the brain. Well, they very much benefit the brain. Whereas like cashews look like your kidneys. Well, they very much benefit your kidneys. When you cut open a carrot, it almost looks like an eyeball. Well, it has a lot of vitamin A in it. It's good for your eyes. Avocados, great for uterus health. And so there's a lot of things out there that, again, we can get through good nutrition that we don't necessarily have to worry about being medicated.
If somebody's coming in with something like premenopausal symptoms, is that something that through hormone replacement we could really see symptomatic relief from? Can we see a lot of change, or is this something that is, the benefits would be negligible to the average person, but you might feel a little bit better? Or is this like life changing?
So honestly, I would say it's life changing. I treat a lot of women in our clinic. Basically, they come in with hot flashes. They come in inability to sleep, stress levels. They feel like, I'm going through a roller coaster of emotions, all kinds of things. And we take a look at the labs, and we can give you hormones to help you with this. You mentioned there's other things than just testosterone injections. For the males, there's pills. For the females and males, there's creams. There's many other options, including test pellets, which is a small surgical procedure. It's very common now. You only have to do it every 6 months, and it keeps your levels up and elevated. So there's people who are kind of like shy of injections. That's traditionally what they go with, or the cream. But we can alleviate a lot of those symptoms. And we don't need to be afraid of hormones. The dosing is appropriate if you have a good, doctor or practitioner that knows what they're doing. Then it can be life changing.
I was surprised with how many weight loss clinics or patients that came in that you were like, maybe some DHEA or some DIM. Like, it wasn't even that bad. It was repairable with just simple supplementation without even going so far as to. But when we're going back to the good fats and bad fats, like our fats make our hormones. So we were going to need those, but they're so demonized that, like, what are we looking for? What kind of fats are we trying to stay away from? What kind of fats you mentioned avocado. That's well known to be extremely high in fats. Why is that good versus, something else that's bad?
Yeah, so it's basically what the food is made of. So a lot of times when we look at good fats versus bad fats, most people can do a traditional like Google search to check out, hey, let me give you some options. But again, for good fats, we look at avocados. It's how they're crafted and created, because they're a natural green plant-based product, whereas opposed to a lot of things that are made out in labs or broken down through the cooking process, like canola oils, other types of oils, legumes, so like peanuts, things like that. These are full of saturated fats. Saturated fats is what we want to stay away from. A lot of times, you always hear, it says 0 trans fats. Well, trans fats are horrible for you. Again, these are made with these canola oils and stuff. The body cannot break these things down. So they just sit in the system, causing havoc, causing inflammation. And so we want to try to avoid those things, because then we'll see it in our arteries. We'll see it in our elevations in cholesterol, because the body doesn't know what it does. So it just starts moving in places and blocking things up.
That's a great way to put that. Like, you're going to see it somewhere.
You can't
burn it up. So it's got to go somewhere. And so we have patients that are coming in for hormone replacements, things like that. And they've been tested. They found out they're low on estrogen, testosterone, something simple. We can go in, and the goal is to get it to a number, right? We're aiming for, this is why the tests are important, because we're aiming for a specific number. We're not just willy-nilly, here's a CC. We're trying to keep it in what we would consider to be like the healthy range for the age of the individual, right?
Correct.
And so it may not even be that much of an adjustment, just a small tailoring one way or the other.
Yeah, a lot of things are taken into account when we're providing hormones. Age is definitely one of them, male or female. What their goals are. Do they have hair, for example? Some people, testosterone does convert to DHT, so some people can get hair loss from this. But if they're bald, then I'm a little less concerned. And so, that's something that I can kind of, I always get a good laugh when I talk to them about that. So there's many things that play into factor, and that's why not doing it in the street and just winging it from a buddy you found in the gym is not the way to go. Go to a clinic, get the labs done, see them. And for those people who, may not have the money and that's why they do these things, still go get your lab work done. Yeah. See where your levels are at, because if you don't, you're going to regret it in the future.
No, absolutely. Because I mean, there are some serious side effects to doing things wrong, for sure. I mean, we're not advocating anybody go out and just try things willy nilly. He's a professional. They deal with this in a professional way. So that's definitely how it should be done. Let's talk about your company, like the one that you have for yourself, Mylifetesting. I use them with all my clients. Absolutely wonderful, because it's going to really help us break down where the sensitivities of an individual are, where the vitamins, the minerals, our enzyme levels, our gut health, like which bacteria we have, which bacteria we don't have. And this is all done from 5 hairs. How did you come about this? Like, how did this all come up?
Great question. So I actually, I compete in bodybuilding, and basically I was.
And we're going to show a picture of his before and after.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I've been through quite a process. So I've done several shows, and I've also been coaching in that arena as well. And so I was pretty savvy at what good foods were and things of that nature. And so I was eating very healthy, but for some reason, around 10 o'clock every day for, I don't know, 6 months to a year almost, I was getting very tired. Around 10 o'clock every day, no matter what I did, no matter if I woke up and did my cardio, if I didn't do my cardio, if I slept in, at 10:30, I was ready to take a nap, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And, I'm trying to run a business. I'm trying to do other things. I actually, I'm a paramedic as well. So I was, riding on the ambulance. I'm like, it's not good to be tired while I'm driving this thing. Right. And so I started digging into food intolerances. One of my friends mentioned it and was like, hey, maybe it's something you're eating. And I was like, well, I never checked that before.
And not allergies.
Correct.
Saying intolerance.
Correct.
So
not allergies.
What we would say is a difference between the two.
So allergies, you're going to get a large inflammatory response. So basically, this is where you see people with anaphylactic shock, or where they kind of swell up, their airway closes. Hives, typically you see in patients that have allergic reactions. Most people have EpiPens and are aware of their allergies.
Yeah.
Some people have environmental allergies, makes them sneeze, things like that. Intolerances are very different. Basically, they can promote in all different kinds of symptoms, but not, things that are going to potentially harm you or kill you, but just things that will affect your life, your mood, your sleep, your skin, for example. I have a person that I worked with found out she had an intolerance to chicken. If she eats chicken or eggs, breaks out acne all over her face.
Wow.
And so they pulled the chicken, and that's something that's very, very common, right? And so
think of that.
And you're like, why do I have this on my face? People with eczema, people with psoriasis get triggers from different types of food. They even are doing studies now with ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, that basically they think that something in our digestion activates that an enzyme that promotes that illness or that disease. Basically, so if there's something that we don't eat, if we kind of refrain that from our diet, these people may never get Crohn's. So they're diving into that.
Oh, wow.
Because that is a lifetime sentence for some people. Yes. and it affects everything. Yeah. So they're doing more research on gut health and foods to see if there's something that activates it. In that as well. Also mood changes, depression. A lot of people, you see depression and anxiety all over the place. A lot of people don't realize, hey, if you're eating something that your body's intolerant to, it can cause you stress. Yep. It can cause you brain fog. It can cause you many, many things. It could just be something that you're commonly eating from day to day. So.
Yeah, your body's inability to break down, from what I've been reading recently, homocysteine. It's a terribly inflammatory substance in your body. If you can't convert it to methionine, your blood pressure goes up, and they call it idiopathic because they're not exactly sure why. Yeah. And it's just from your body can't break it down. It's one simple intolerance.
Right. So just to finish my story, so basically I found a company that deal with food intolerances. It's actually based out of London, and this was in 2019. And so I did a test very similar to what I have now. It's a lot more results now than it was in 2019. And it kicked back oatmeal. So one of the foods that I ate every single morning for I don't even know how long. And I was like, all right, well, maybe this is it. So I stopped eating oatmeal. I switched over to grits or cream of rice, another one. I was no longer tired at 10 o'clock. Man.
So we would say exhaustion can be an inflammatory response like that. We would put that in the inflammatory category.
Absolutely. So these people that are like, man, I'm chronically fatigued. So that's something I also talk about in the clinic. You know, if I notice the hormones are fine, I'm like, hey, have you thought about getting a food intolerance? You know, obviously you talk about it as well. It's like, hey, I feel like, you know, a lot of people when they talk about dieting, they feel like I'm different. It doesn't work for me.
Yes.
The body works the same way for everyone. However, you have unique things like intolerances or illnesses and things of that nature that might, be causing your issue. Because things will work if they're done certain ways.
What I love about this test too is it'll show you in like a clear column of things you can't eat, and then it'll show you the exact bacteria that will normally convert that, and you don't have it. Or it'll show you the exact enzyme that normally breaks that fat down, but you don't make it. So all of a sudden that intolerance is much more explained.
Yeah.
And that's what's wonderful about it, because then it can actually lead to supplementation and to fixing these things. So, you know, maybe in the future you could eat a little bit healthier.
Yeah. And that's what I'm noticing too. Like, again, this company, I white label it now. They've been around for over 15 years. Doing food intolerance testing. And so it kicks back about 60 pages. And I'm noticing a lot of people are getting more excited about, hey, I'm missing these probiotics. You know, I'm missing all these enzymes. This is why I'm having these issues. This is why I can't go to the bathroom. This is why I'm holding all this weight. And, you know, it even goes into toxins and environmental toxins.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. It goes into the food colorings, you know, in your drinks. Or, you know, I found out mine, I was, you know, had an intolerance to caramel coloring. So I was eating rice cakes, you know, very bodybuilder friendly thing. Yeah. Well, the Quaker ones have caramel coloring in it. Deli meat has caramel coloring in it. And so I was noticing I ate these things, I'd bloat. My weight loss would stop. And so it was just super, super beneficial. And I recommend doing it like every 6 months. So you can do it every 4 to 6 months. Basically, as you're eating things, it can change. Many things will stay the same, but I do recommend doing it at least twice a year. And just so you can stay really on your nutrition, stay really on those things. But yeah, so I was able to white label the product once I became a nurse practitioner. And then I basically discussed, with them pricing and things like that. So we got it down to about $79.99, but obviously you have a discount code to promote the product because you understand how helpful it is when building a nutrition plan, when looking at, problems that people are having that are affecting their life pretty substantially. Like you don't have to live tired. You don't have to live stressed.
I swear by this test. All of my clients use it. It's absolutely wonderful. And even when we were working together over there, I was putting a lot of the people through it over there too, because I do swear by it. Absolutely wonderful test. And from 5 hairs, like that's the best part. It's minimally intrusive. That I don't know if you remember when we first started talking about the test, somebody had brought in their doctor's back one where their spine or their back was pricked, like 50 times all the way down their back. And we had matching results from the hair test and that, and they were identical. Ours just had way more information in it than the other one.
Well, it's incredible with the bioresonance testing. They do electromagnetic waves. Just the science of it is incredible. So the lab I have is out in Texas, and they run, these 5 hairs through so many different varieties of tests to kick back these results. And it's just incredible. Again, you get the kit mailed, ordered into your home. You poke hairs from anywhere on the body. We don't suggest pubic hair, but anything else, nose hairs for people that are bald, ear hair, things like that. Just a few hairs. And then next thing you know, a week later, you got these results back, and now you potentially could change your life.
And is as close to the root cutting, plucking? What's the best way to do it?
It really doesn't matter. Okay. If you cut the hair, it's totally fine. If you got hair dye, it's totally fine. Okay. The resonance testing will still be able to get
those
into
are questions I get a lot. That's why.
Absolutely. And a lot of things are on the website as well. If you want to search through it. Also, if you do purchase one and you're like, where are my results? At the bottom of the first page, you can also check to see where your results are so you can know where you're at in the process.
It's wonderfully convenient, an amazing dossier of your body. Like I said, 60 pages, something like that, of everything that you could need.
And we're continuing to add things. The company just came out with pet testing tolerance.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm not going to be selling them just yet, but I am looking into it. Just because, I actually brought up the idea to them and they were like, oh, we think we can do that.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you want to take care of your pet. That's your family member,
Absolutely. And they are usually, as somebody comes from the veterinary world, they are very intolerant to a lot of the foods we're putting into their kibbles and things like that. It's waste filler product, and they're wildly intolerant to it.
Yeah.
So I can see that just taken right off. That's
100%. And it's just great. I'm so thankful to be able to do that and be able to work with the company. I meet routinely with one of their managers and one of the owners just to talk about, hey, this is what we got going on. Hey, what added tests are we adding in here? Because now they even have it checks your hormones to see if maybe they're off. It doesn't give you specific numbers. Checks your thyroid, see if it's off. It doesn't give you specific numbers, but it'll tell you if you're within range or not, so that you can go into a clinic like mine and get tested and find out, hey, maybe I need this as well. So just so many benefits there. And honestly, the 1,000 foods it goes through, it doesn't just say apples. It says Fuji apples. It says these,
very
goes for very specific
very
things. Specific. And so, a lot of people, they, contact me and they're super frustrated. They're like, oh, it says I can't have cheese anymore. And
that's
And so they're like, oh, but dairy is a very common intolerance.
Yep.
But
that's where we'll end up talking about, hey, there are probiotics, lactose bifidus, lactose reuteri. These are specifically for your body's ability to break down dairy. So we can add in some supplementation to hopefully help. I mean,
well, most of the time you see it in the test too. So they'll kick back and then that one's missing, right? And they're like, well, that's why you have the the intolerance.
That's the beautiful part about it. It's just it's a one-stop shop. And gives you, like you said, your hormones, your vitamins, your minerals, your enzymes, your gut health, your environmental allergens, your food allergens, your additive allergens. Like, it is a wonderful.
Even as a vegan part for those people out there,
different meats the vegan meats you might be allergic to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful test. One more thing I want to go over is how important is sleep to the whole grand scheme of health, weight loss. Like, how important is that to the average person who says, I'll sleep when I'm dead?
Yeah. So sleep and recovery are everything. There's a meme out there that's like, rest day. It's like, where's my rest muscle and how do I train it? Right. And so, awesome. And so it sleeps everything, man. And, a lot of people, we have such a go society. We talked about circadian rhythm. We are not made to work the hours that we work. Yeah. You see other cultures and they are taking naps in the middle of the afternoon or having, a break in the middle of the afternoon to pray, because this is how their circadian rhythm works. Why you get that 2:30 feeling too is because we're not in the right circadian rhythm. So that's something to talk about as far as sleep, getting good REM sleep. Or talking about, people that have GERD, not eating before you go to bed to make sure you're getting good sleep. So things that promote sleep are highly beneficial. The body increases in temperature as you sleep. So you want to sleep colder to allow the body to increase and not wake you up. And even like a glimpse of light can actually lower, I think, the melatonin in the body by almost 70%. Just having a small light in your room. So I always recommend blackout curtains, things of that nature.
Oh, wow.
And so getting good sleep is everything, because basically the recovery is where your body changes. A lot of people go in, we talk about the gym a lot. You see people in the gym, it's like, how many days you come here? 6, 7? And I'm like, do you ever sleep? Mm-hmm. And it's like, and those people, like, I even tell my clients, I'm like, hey, we're going to do 5 days a week, or we're going to do 4 days a week. I remember I had a gentleman, his name is Greg Long. He actually, I wish he was my grandpa. He's like 72 years old. I think he won the Mr. America in like 1980.
That's awesome.
He has a gym out in Pennsylvania. It's got like first generation dumbbells, big circus dumbbell. It was the most incredible place I've ever seen. Anyway, I had him coach me for about a month because I was like, I'd love to work with you. He trained me for like 30 minutes, destroyed me. And so I was like, please tell me what you've learned. And so one of the things he said is he goes, the best training program is 4 days a week. And he's like, but you're not going to do that because you have an illness. And that's what he always referred to basically being a bodybuilder or being as an illness. He's like, you have an addiction, you have an illness. So he goes, hey, you're going to train 4 days a week, but if you got to go back in to feed the illness, he's like, you can do abs and calves. And so we talk about that. He goes, and like literally check-ins, he'd be like, how's your illness going? How's your illness? You get cured yet? And it was so funny. So I love that because it is. You change when you're not in the gym. You're breaking down the muscle in the gym. So you need time for it to recover.
Yeah.
You need time for the creatine we talked about to work. We need time for all these nutrients to repair and rebuild. And that's how you change. Also increases in growth hormone, helps with weight loss, helps with longevity of your life. You know, we hadn't even talked about food and how it relates to, you know, cellular health. You know, basically, if you're not eating appropriate foods, you know, you see these people that are like, hey, I know you're 40, but your actual age is 70. You know, like nobody wants that. But that's why, you know, NAD and other types of supplements like that are becoming very prominent because they're use serums. Yeah,
absolutely love
100%. And so those are, sleep's everything.
If we get this test, we go through, we find, and we're eliminating these inflammatory products, is that going to help our sleep? Is that something that we could maybe expect to see from this as far as recovery and everything else as well?
Yeah, great question. Absolutely. Basically, if our body is dealing with an intolerance, you know, it's going to cause bloating. It's going to cause discomfort. It's going to cause particularly, you know, inflammation. It could heat the body up. You know, it could cool the body down. You could be going through all kinds of different responses that will affect your sleep. Also deals with the brain as well. So getting into REM sleep, if you're eating something that you shouldn't be eating, is very, very difficult.
Yeah, because your body literally adjusts the temperature by 2 degrees, right? From going from REM sleep to non-REM sleep or whatever it is. Yeah, it's such a strange phenomenon. And I felt it before. I woke up in the middle of the night just burning up all of a sudden, like when I was fine before. And yeah, it's neat that our body will actually go through then oxygen, right? It shifts to oxygen gradients too.
Yeah, blood pressure changes, blood sugar changes. There's several phenomenons, you know, that deal with blood sugar changes and going to sleep and things like that.
Well, Jared, I want to thank you again for coming in and talking with us. This has been absolutely wonderful. And I'm going to link all of his information in the description page, to his website, to his Instagram. I'm sure you have Instagram, TikTok, all those things. And thanks to you again for coming in today. And thank you guys for checking us out. We're going to be posting a bunch more coming up here soon. So please just stay tuned. And thanks for coming in today. All right, brother.
Awesome, man. Yeah, can we